Were you surprised when, after launching material design, that companies that weren't even designing Google products or for Android kind of just started using material design for themselves? Was that one of the goals that you guys went after?
It wasn't one of the initial goals,
Right.
but as we started building it out, it definitely became a goal. And it's one of our core goals now is that material is not just for Google. It's not just Google. It's not just Android. It is, we think, a good foundational design system that can be used in a lot of different ways by a lot of different brands for a lot of different experiences. But on the initial rollout, I mean, it's like any product launch. You have this idea in your head of what this thing is going to be and how it's going to be received, and you've done testing in the sense of like we've tried it with Google products, and we've maybe had a couple of early partners here and there to kind of give us a feel for it. And then you release it, and then the world gets a shot at it, and things surprise you. I mean, I think we were. You look at your guidelines and you look at kind of the message you think you're putting forward, but then you see what people actually hear. So we were surprised by things like, there was a huge response to the floating action button, but sometimes that becomes a weakness if everybody perceives as, oh, okay, I have to have this thing.
Right.
Well, that's not at all the guidance. Like sometimes you have a scene where there is no one kind of hallmark action, so you shouldn't have it. You shouldn't like force something to be suddenly more important if it actually isn't important. Right. Or we saw a lot of products adopting the left navigation drawer, which is something that a lot of Google products do because we have a lot of secondary, ancillary functions, whether it's like you might have settings or help or send feedback or account management, where other apps don't have those needs. Yeah. Yet they were still whining, using this pattern where we're like, oh, but really, if you'd read the guideline, and so that's hard, like because you don't want to. You want to kind of.
That's not material.
Well, it's not even that it's not material. It's just not. It's not good for their product, right? And you feel bad because you don't want to be like putting something out there that kind of misleads people into a direction that you wouldn't want them to go down.
Well, plus their framing of what they anticipate to be material design actually abuses what material design is for people who don't know material design, and so suddenly Google's products are not seen in the best light, even though their products have nothing to do with I totally get get the argument.
I mean, so it happens,
Yeah.
and you see it, and you're like, okay, so what did we miss on the messaging side? Because you always have to kind of take responsibility for what happens there. You're putting all of this stuff out there, so okay. We needed to kind of cover more on this there. If we see too many products that are looking like just kind of they're Google branded, but they're not, we need to miss on that messaging. And maybe that means that we need to have a lot more examples that don't kind of just look like white labeled Google products. Yeah. That we kind of, and that's something we've embraced over the last couple of years, that we have this process that we call vignetting, where we just kind of make up an artificial brand, that hopefully solves kind of a real use case, and just build it in material at a visual level, and then try to turn that into more of the examples that we use when we talk about it. So that's a way that we can kind of get closer to what especially third-party expectations or hopes for adopting material would be.